Hey, thanks for clicking on this video, and just got back from a walk, so I'm just gonna wanted to kind of unpack this a little bit with you because we can get really confused, and I see a lot of confused Christians. They're struggling with their identity, and I can see the pattern because that's me. I was there, I've been there, come out the other side, and sometimes still get distracted by this the way to think about who we are. And there's a worldly way to think about who we are, and then there's a Christ way to think about who we are. So I want to talk about this identity mindset, and really this mindset, for you as a man or for you as a woman, it's different for each one. But for me as a man, we in these circles, we get around and people say, the first question that we're asked is, hey, what do you do? And our response is, I am. We don't say, well, I do, I do ministry. I'm a past, I do this. We always respond with, I am. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer, or I'm a carpenter. We basically have this core belief in the world that we are what we do. And that is an interesting mindset, but it's not the mindset we're to carry about ourselves. It's the way the world has taught us how to think. Your flesh, your carnal mind, your senses want to identify with you and what you can do, and how good you can be, and all the things that you offer, and what you bring. And that's not the mindset that we're called to think about ourselves. You are not just what you do. And so often we can get into that. And so I don't know, but that's really the response. If we carry that mindset into our faith walk as believers, we're going to stumble, we're going to trip, we're going to get really confused, really depressed, really start get self-focused, self-centered, and because that's where it's coming from. It's from what you can do. And that's not the mindset. The mindset, you are what you do, is not a godly mindset. The godly mindset for you to have is that you are what he did. Now that's a totally different mindset. That thing, you are what he did, is based on nothing that you did. It's based on everything about who he is and what he did. And now you are that. If we can settle that debate and not use this other mindset to try to determine our value, our worth, and our identity, we can settle it. But if we're going to use the worldly system of, well, I did this and I did that, and that, if we're going to use that, man, that is, I can tell you, that's a slippery slope. And I see so many people who get spirit filled, but then they're still trying to live with the first mindset of like, well, okay, so I do these things. You are what you do, and that is a problem when you because the second you do bad, it's great when you're doing good, but the second you do bad, you are that. You are bad. It's not just that you did something that way, that's who you are. See, if you're going to take that whole mindset, I'm a carpenter, this is what I do, this is why I am a carpenter, this is who I am, but then you blow it in one area, oh, I'm bad. I'm a bad carpenter. See, it's an identity switch. You see that? It immediately carries that. So we need to, and that thing is powerless. So like at its core, it's not going to bring you life. And I see a lot of powerless Christians, and at that core, they're carrying this identity of their worth, their value based on what they can do, what they can offer. Yeah, man, that's bad news. So I got a question for you. How did you become a sinner? You can think about it for a second. How did you become a sinner? Well, Chris, it's kind of obvious. I sinned. I did some terrible things. Yeah, I think we can identify with that. But interesting. That's what you say. That might be what you think about, or you might think of something terrible come to your mind, an act of disobedience, or just really bad stuff. But that's that first mindset. What does the Bible say? Romans 5:19. I've just been meditating on this for a while now. Romans 5:19 says that just as one man's disobedience made many sinners, one man's obedience made many righteous. Sons to God, daughters to God. So How did you become a sinner? Through one man's disobedience. Did you? Was that through Adam's disobedience, many were made sinners? See, in that we were born into this thing through this flesh. That mindset that he had in the garden carried it throughout humanity. But notice it's through one man's disobedience that many were made sinners. But here, that's the one mindset. Here's the second mindset. That through one man's obedience, many were made righteous. Many of us are trying to, I see many people who are still Christians who are trying to live in the first mindset, but even though they've been renewed by the Spirit, but they're still trying to live, the mind hasn't changed. We need to think like Christ, because one is the Christ mindset and one is Adam mindset. It's the earthly, worldly mindset. So I was thinking about this a little bit, and if we don't switch that mindset, we're gonna end up producing that, and it's just not fun. So think about this here. Which one's greater, the Adam mindset or the Jesus mindset? I have an interesting background in my study, in education. I didn't take the normal biblical path. I mean, I took all the biblical courses, but a big chunk of my path was actually English grammatical language. So for me, studying the English language, teaching people how to speak English, so all these things, I get really interested about verbs and nouns and prepositions and all these really boring stuff. But this is really cool. I've been going through the book of Romans, going and spending a lot of time there, but I see it in Ephesians, other books too, which is just, it's speaking to me right now. Jesus didn't just die for your actions. I believe he forgave what you did. But there's something he died for. He didn't die for your sin, the actions, sin, the verb. He forgave sin, the verbs. He died for sin, the noun. And this noun is the identity. It's an entity. It is an idea that you are sin-filled, that you missed the mark, that you're not good enough, that you're separated from God, that you're lacking something. That identity is what he died for. It's the identity that Adam took upon himself when he disobeyed God. I can't trust God. And he starts to try to cover up what he did. Okay, I did this through my actions, so I will try to cover up what I did through my actions. This is kind of what he starts to do. So in Romans 10, it says this, the death, he died, Jesus died. He died to sin. The death Jesus died, he died to sin. Hey, was Jesus a sinner? No. So that's not the verb, the word sin. That's the noun. Over 40 times in the book of Romans, the word for sin is a noun. It's this identity that we carry that Adam brought into the world. Only 2 times does it use the verb in action. 40 times, over 30 times in the book of Ephesians, the word sin is a noun. Only 5 times is it a verb. Come on. I'm so interested in this. Jesus died. He didn't die to wipe away your actions. He lived it perfectly so he could forgive it perfectly. He forgave your actions. But he died so that you would never carry that sinful identity ever again. Sinful, missing the mark, not good enough, not qualified. Because, guys, I'm bringing this up because a few of you you're in this ministry. God's called you into it, and it was something you didn't just decide to do. God led you into this ministry. Let's acknowledge that. The Spirit has been guiding you. But some of you don't feel qualified, or like you need to be, you're lacking something when it comes to even just, let's say, doing soul care, leading soul care. that I'm not qualified. I don't have or even just to give a word for someone. I don't know if I can do that. Guys, that is the wrong identity. That's all based on what you think you can do and what you can't do and what I don't have, what it takes. Man, wrong mindset. Wrong mindset. The mindset you have is that you have everything you need because he killed that sin, the noun. He killed that sin, the death he died to sin. He took that old identity down to the grave, and when he got resurrected, you got resurrected with a new identity, a brand new identity. And what's that identity? Do you know the identity that he put on you? The one man's obedience made many. What's the new clothing you wear? Is it sinfulness? Is it like you're lacking? Is it like you're missing the mark? No. One man's obedience made many righteous. Righteous. Right with God. He takes a look at you and all these areas that you think you're lacking. He goes, take a look at him. He's right. He's ready. He's good to go. He's got what it takes. He's been made brand new. This is who he is. This is who she is, because that's what I made her to be. I made her to carry this image. I made you to carry this image. And so that's just something I wanted to share with you. Adam is in the garden, God says this, hey, Adam, the day that you eat of this fruit is the day you'll surely die. Isn't it interesting, though, that Adam didn't die, but God said he'd die? Oh, we've taken that and said, oh yeah, well then humanity was going to die because we're going to live eternally. Well, we're living eternally. Guys, God didn't get confused about the day. The day that you eat this fruit is the day that you, Adam, will surely die. But Adam didn't die. What died? That fact that he was an image bearer, that he carried the image of God, died. The fact that he instantly thought he lacked something. He instantly thought he lacked something, that he could work for it to make up. He hides himself, he covers himself, and tries through his disobedience, through his actions, tries to now make right through his actions. That's what died. The mindset that he could make it up through his actions. Before, it was like this communion relationship with God, and he couldn't undo his sinfulness through an action. This idea that I can cover myself up. I can do it. I can't trust God, so I can do it. That self-centeredness is all over in the world. It's all over, and it's in Christians. Christians are still living self-centered. I find myself, man, trying to lay this thing down in the mornings when I get up. I'm like, why am I, there's days where I just like, whoa, wrong mindset. No wonder you're struggling. Okay, so isn't it amazing that God, in that where they're trying to cover them with themselves up, God comes and he covers them. Okay, if you're going to have that mind, let me cover you up. Again, he's trying to rebuild the trust. They're not put them trust in themselves, but he covers them up. I think that's a prophetic act of, he's putting these robes of he's trying to put these robes of righteousness on them, but their internal's not changed yet. Jesus comes to change the internal identity. That sin, the noun, had to die, because in that day that Adam ate of that tree, our nature of being one with God died. And Jesus comes to renew that. And he puts the robe of righteousness on. I love that prodigal story, right? And the sinner in that story tries to undo his actions by like more actions. Okay, I'm going to go back to dad and I'm going to put myself to work. I'll be his servant, his slave. I'm going to work this thing. What's the response of the father? I'm going to clothe you. I'm going to put a robe of what? Righteousness. You're right standing with me. There isn't something you did that is separating us. That's the wrong identity. There isn't this barrier. No. There's no barrier. You're my son. You're my daughter. Bottom line, here's the thing. If you see yourself as righteous, the noun, you are more prone to do the acts of righteousness, the verb. If you see yourself as righteous, the noun, you're more prone to do righteous, the verb. If you see yourself as sinner, the noun, you automatically are going to be more prone to sin, the verb. You're going to end up in mindsets like, I'm lacking, I'm missing the mark, there's something I need to do better, I need to read more Bible, I need to pray more, I got to do something more. to solve this problem, and that's all about you and what you can do and what you can offer. And man, that's just not going to bring any freedom to your life. So, are you a sinner saved by grace? Are you a sinner saved by grace? No. Oh, that doesn't sound like church. Whoa, Chris. Ooh, settle down. No, you're not. We're living that identity. So many Christians are living the identity as sinner saved by grace because that's what they were taught. Man, that was an event. You were a sinner who was saved by grace. Now what are you? See, we haven't told the church that she's a righteous bride. She's ready, that she's good to go. She can do all things in Christ. That you can do all things because you have the one who strengthens you. That's good news. that's really good news. Many of us are still trying to live a sinner saved by grace identity. That's not an identity. That was an event. I got really good news for you. No matter what you do, this verb, whether it's right or wrong, it'll never change your noun, who you are. No matter what verb you do, it'll never change your noun. Doesn't matter what action you do, right or wrong, it is never going to change this core identity of what Jesus did. See, the mindset that you have. So because what he did.